Hi, welcome to the premiere episode of Family DynamiKs. I'm Katherine.
I'm Ed.
I'm Liz.
I'm John.
In this podcast, we are 4 siblings, the Killmonds, actually 4 of 8 siblings, all raised in the San Fernando Valley.
Suburb of Los Angeles.
And in this podcast, in various combinations, sometimes the 4 of us and sometimes added members of the extended family. Our mom, I was going to say my mom, but obviously she's all of our mom.
We are all the same
It's the
parents.
same. It's the same mom. Oh, so it's all of our mom. Like various sisters, cousins, kids,
Niece, nephews, in-laws, anybody that will join us and share
Spouses.
Oh, yes. Spouses, why not? And we'll sit around and talk about our family dynamics. You know, it's with a K, by the way, with Killmonds.
right, of course, and really just get into the idea that everyone has different relationships, and particularly in a big family, you're going to have a lot of different relationships and points of view, on different things. And we thought it would be interesting to first kind of talk about how us 4 of the 8 siblings ended up working together, because that's what this is. We are the 4 members of Knack Entertainment,
A production group that works in Los Angeles, California. And we are writers and...
It's really interesting because there's a big backstory to why we're all working together now in the creative world and space and doing podcasts and all the other things that we're up to. We have a really deep history in this business and within our own family.
Well, it starts with our dad. So our dad, who unfortunately has passed away, he was an actor. So we grew up
Yeah,
with
if you want to look him up, it's France. Well, does he
It's
go
under
by
Frank Killmond
Frank
on IMDb.
Killmond? Yeah, okay.
Frank Killmond on IMDb. So, you know, as we were growing up, he was pursuing an acting career. He also was a teacher and had a religious bookstore and, other
insurance salesman.
other jobs that, were filling his time, but always trying to make an acting career,
Well, that's what brought him here, right? From the East Coast?
right, for sure.
I mean, born and raised on the East Coast,
Philadelphia.
and, to know him, when you think of an actor, vivacious personality or free spirit and this and that, not really our dad.
No,
But
not really.
More conservative, more a little straight-laced, but had a goofy fun side to him occasionally. But what brought him here to the West Coast was the entertainment.
I mean, technically, the Navy brought him to the West Coast.
Okay, I don't know that. What do you...
Dad was in the Navy, and
Right.
that was the out point. Like I think he didn't go back to the East Coast and
When
then
he
traveled
got
back.
out.
I think he came back
really?
on this side.
I feel like wasn't there called from a payphone I'm not coming back?
No way, really?
I mean, probably not exactly.
That's
interesting.
interesting.
There's got to be some point at which either he's one of the many careers, but if he's making it, he's like, yeah, I'm making it. I'm not coming back.
But I remember there was a play back east called Blue Denim.
No, that was here. It was at the Pasadena Playhouse. It was a big deal.
Thank God.
But wait. I was
Right.
just going to say, because Ed, you've done some really good research on Dad's real IMDb credits.
Yeah,
And
I'm the contributor that put all those up there. They're just straight off of his resume, but it took some work to find what episode? Oh my gosh, this is hard.
But I have this recollection that one of his first acting gigs was on a Navy-themed show, and I think that's actually how he got that job, because he was in the Navy, so he knew how to be a Navy.
Did he show
dude.
up to the audition in a naval outfit
I don't
uniform?
know. God, I wish he was
Skip.
alive to tell that story.
Skip came in with that uniform
Oh,
on.
my God!
yeah, why was he? Skip was a nickname.
I think, from school.
Yeah,
Oh my God!
like a high
Amazing.
school nickname that may be
Skip.
translated into Villanova, but then not much past that.
Okay,
Villanova,
wait,
where we went
John.
to college. But
How do you know that? Did he tell you that?
Yeah, no. It's in one of his yearbooks because we
Oh,
have all his
wow.
yearbooks.
I totally forgot. And Skip, has a connotation of lighthearted, ready to go with gusto. And it's
Is
like,
it Skip? I thought it was Scooter for
No.
some reason.
No, I mean, I don't. There's no connotation. We're talking about the 50s and the 40s. They're just people named Skip. That's
my
just how
God.
it worked.
Crazy.
Skip, Spot, whatever. Dogs, people, just name people, objects. I'm not figuring it out. Oh, is your name
Wow.
Frank? You're a button now.
So then he did not act before he basically came here to the West Coast,
No,
off of the naval ship.
I do believe that there was some theater in high school. He
Oh,
did
okay.
have a bit of an acting bug, but then probably to get out of the, Philadelphia, East Coast, not whatever that was, Villanova, and then the Navy.
Well, our grandfather was a banker, and I think he felt if he went back east, it was just
He'd
going to
get-
fall in line with all that.
Yeah.
And I just, having seen the world as with the Navy, maybe he really wanted a bigger life. I don't know.
That's so interesting.
One of the interesting things I did, so I want to respond to your question as to whether or not that was the first thing that he was in.
Right.
I have done a bunch of research, and if you go on his IMDb,
And
you can
IMDb
find
is, explain to people, it's like a,
Internet Movie Database that is just a catalog of people that have been in things and other people that have worked on properties. So for the people that don't exist on there, you can contribute. It's almost like a Wikipedia, but they do verify everything, and they won't put it up until it's like legitimately associated with the real production and the money. And
it's almost like an online resume of people in the industry. So whether your
But it's
TV
not-
credits, your movie credits,
But it's not always complete because, somebody has to
You
submit
have to
it.
submit
Yeah.
it.
especially if you're an older actor, because it only really came about probably in the last 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay.
So that series that you're talking about is called Navy Log.
Navy log. Okay.
And I don't think either that's not the first series or show that he was in that he had listed, because he had other stuff that's only cutouts from newspaper listings of what's airing.
Oh.
That
You mean like the
that
old
exists
TV
somewhere.
guide? Like,
100%. He did cutouts of his initial performances and premieres because there's no other way to record it. But then there's stuff that he did commercials. I don't know
tons
all
of
the commercials he did. The ones that I can find, they're great, but that's because we kind of know about them. There's days that he must have gone on sets, and we just don't know anything about that.
right. And it actually goes to the commercials are an interesting sort of segue into then our childhood, where in Los Angeles back during the 80s and 70s, there were no kids coming here for pilot season. There was the childhood actor that Macaulay Culkin, from Home Alone sort of brought in that whole era, really who was acting. And you can go back to some of the biggest childhood actors at the time, whether it be, Jodie Foster or Christy McNichols, or everybody's like, who are these people? But during that era, their parents were usually in the industry. And the casting directors or managers would say, oh, they're looking for an 8-year-old. They're looking for a 15-year-old. They're looking for a toddler. Well, having 8 siblings, we had a wide variety to choose from, 4 boys, 4 girls. So the first 4 of us, the siblings, so it was our 2 older brothers, John. I always do that. I don't know why. John's our youngest, actually.
It's a challenge with this many people
We
you're
need a
directly
flow
related
chart.
to, remembering all their names.
Of our siblings. We did a flow chart. Our oldest brother, James, and then William, Katherine, and myself, just by default.
Yeah, Dad realized it was an asset to, if he realized that for a commercial or whatever, they were looking for a kid, he would volunteer, I can bring in one of my various children.
That's why you and you and Dad ended up doing Aunt Jemima ad together,
Yes,
right?
and that was definitely just, they saw him and they liked him and they were looking for a little girl, and he was like, well, I have one.
to play his daughter.
And I think, he very generously was like, I think you're the reason we got that job. It was, that locked it. They're like, oh, you could bring a child and she will listen to you? Great.
Yeah, I was not a good listener. So he's like, we're going to go for Katherine.
Well, I think I was only maybe 4 or 5.
You
I
look
was
young in the ad. It does
yeah. And I had a line and I had to eat pancakes all day and got a tummy ache because,
but you had to work through it.
I just, whatever.
And then William and Mom did the National Boy Scout ad together. But our most successful sibling was James.
yeah, he did a cornflakes box. He did a
Dial
dial soap
I
commercial.
was
It
about
was
to
a big
say,
deal.
a cornflakes cover, like a magazine cover. No, it's a cornflakes box. My bad.
Yeah, it's still very prestigious.
Well,
And Little House on the Prairie.
Yep.
Lots of stuff. He actually really kind of worked because he was very intelligent, very articulate, very matter of fact, so.
And just what, at the time and even now, a child on a set, if they're actually very mature, that is helpful because it's work.
And he kind of had a Ron Howard vibe,
He did. He even had kind of reddish hair at the time, which now he has a couple of redheads, which is funny because he has very brown hair.
It was in there.
Yeah, that gene was strong.
Now, how did you, it's always like family lore, but you and James and you were cast as the children of David Bowie's
Oh, The Man Who Fell to Earth. Yeah.
The movie that was
You were literally aliens.
Yeah. we were cast. And I think there were no lines or anything. It was like, I mean, if you watch the movie today, there's like some fuzzy shot of his family in the background. And I think that was supposed to be us. We'd have to actually get James on the phone and ask him because I don't think he did it.
no, I think you ruined that shoot.
I did ruin it because they wanted to put which now when you see it, it's so far away. They wanted to put full colored contacts in. I was like 6 or something.
Oh, so you look like an alien.
A full color contact over the entire eye. So you had to pull the eyelids back and this whole thing. And I was like, a kid. And I was not into it at all. And poor dad, he just wants us to work because he wants to, further his own career and help us
Well, you
be
guys
successful.
booked the gig, so be professional and do the gig.
But it was I was
no,
backing away and crying and it was a whole thing. And I can't believe they did this. And I was too young to remember this so clearly, but they flew Dad and I to New Mexico or Arizona or wherever they were shooting. And so we could meet the director, which seems impossible, but that's my recollection of it. And Dad, the whole way there, he had found this tiny spoon and was practicing putting the spoon over my eyeball so that I would allow them to put the contact in my eye. I was and I tolerated it so that, by the time we got there, we were all confident that I would be able to do it. And then they didn't even care anymore. They were just nice to meet you. Great. We don't need you. I don't know how they told us we weren't doing it, and
you were too difficult.
I was obviously a prima donna at, 5.
Which then took James out of it too.
But that's what I'm trying to remember.
This is the lore problem because theoretically, everyone thinks that there is some one shot left over that is you guys or him or something.
It definitely is not me in there, but he might have done it. So we'd have to ask him.
I have sat through that movie, but I think I might have been high because I don't remember most of it.
Well, it's also super weird.
Yeah. Speaking of sat through it,
we're going to reveal right now on this podcast for the first time ever. We're sorry. We're so sorry.
Oh, God, what?
Marie. John and I went to go see a screening of The Man Who Fell to Earth with James's daughter.
Oh, no.
Oldest firstborn daughter, Marie. That is not a movie you want to see with your niece.
Well, whatever. She was in college. It seemed like something fun to do.
It's a bizarre movie.
So was James in it at all?
Look, we think he's in one shot, but it's still undecided, even though we've all asked everyone a million times.
And no one can get a straight answer.
Most importantly, so we go to this movie, which I'd never seen before, and it was ooh, this is interesting. Oh, full frontal rip torn.
What? Why? Who wants that?
That was that.
You block things out in retrospect, John. I didn't have that anymore. Thanks a lot.
That's why it was less of a good thing to go with your niece.
Oh my.
Okay.
I
mean, slightly unrelated, but having gone back to the theater at some point and seen Top Gun, I don't need to see a 50-foot tall Kelly McGillis and Tom Cruise going at it with their tongues. It was a lot. There's things that you just forget about in the theater.
How did you just leave?
No. Top Gun is perfect. Don't even.
Oh, so Top Gun.
Oh my God, what? All right, so that was our childhood.
So that's
really
the real deep history. But then as we were even teenagers.
Oh, wait. I got one more tidbit of deep history.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Our dad met our mother when he was hired by Loyola. Is it just Loyola?
It was all girls. It was Marymount.
Loyola Marymount.
It was her
or just Marymount?
Marymount.
Marymount University, right?
College? I thought it was
Yes.
That was her college. So she's
doing a play.
20-something,
Yeah.
and I don't need to go into the whole story. We'll have her tell the story at some point. But it's, he was hired because it's an all-girls school. So for the play, they needed male actors. Mm-hmm. He's in his 30s. He's an actor. He's taking any gig he can get. He took a job at a college in a play and married our mom.
Yeah, that's how.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
So all the way back to the beginning of the entire relationship of our family speaks to the entertainment industry is in our blood. It's in our blood before there was blood shared between our blood relatives. Even.
And we all were in it as kids. And ironically, I
all?
Well,
were we all?
okay, sorry, the first
Yeah, John,
film.
you were on TV.
Yeah, oh my gosh, we did our
monkey.
Yes. all of our talent shows, being in Catherine's final television project.
Oh, yeah.
Marymount. So no, but it's always been in and around our family history. But it was really James deciding as a kid actor, because he was the one that booked the most work. Mm-hmm. When he decided he didn't want to do it anymore, our father basically said, and I think we'd moved to the San Fernando Valley, out of Santa Monica, which was probably easier to get to gigs
yeah, for sure.
and auditions.
Taking kids to auditions like that
from San Fernando Valley, even though traffic was nothing like it is now in Los Angeles. But I think that was where our father said, I mean, he's the only one making money and booking. I'm not going to take you guys on auditions. I remember being honestly disappointed, like bummed. And
I don't think I really registered that it was happening, that we were not going to do it anymore. But
I remember being disappointed, like, what? I liked going and getting that attention, but I was too young.
Well, and also getting pulled out of school was kind of cool.
Awesome. It was so good. So, yeah, but that's sort of the background. And then really then through our childhood, school plays. I was always involved with theater, always.
Yeah, me too.
You two being, there's two sisters in between Katherine and I. So you two really are our younger brothers.
You mean two sisters after, so in between the boys and us.
Yes, not to confuse people, but
so it's myself, Katherine, then Liz, then two sisters, Rosemary and Virginia, and then Eddie and John.
Right. So you really were our younger brothers, you know. So
younger by a lot, not like, oh, my younger brother who's 1 year younger and 1 grade behind me and dating my best friend. No. We never even got to, hi, bye, you guys are leaving? Oh.
Well, we were still little kids a little bit with you, Ed, but I was 13, I was 14 when you were born, John. And I totally had made up this whole scenario that it was an after school special because you were born in August and everybody's going to think it was my baby and we're hiding it.
Honestly, I know I'm the lone researcher in this category. There is 100% a TV movie with, I'm not gonna go into it entirely because it's I haven't watched it. I don't remember the name of it, but what's her name? Jennifer Jason Leigh? Is that right?
Yes.
He's in a movie with Dad, a TV made movie, and it's 100% like teen pregnancy or something.
What?
it's like a bad news. I think he's just like a checker at a supermarket or something. I haven't watched it yet because he's not the star. It's going to be Jennifer Jason Leigh. That's why you're watching this special when she was 17.
Oh.
But I do feel like there's something in that category.
It definitely sounded too provocative that Mom would not have let us watch it.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
I mean, the after school specials were juicy back then. And it was like, because our mom was now working, if we got home on time, rode our bikes home on time, we could get and watch the after school special before Mom came home.
Yeah, there's a sweet window.
I think it's very ironic that Dad was an actor and we were really not supposed to watch TV. Like they really didn't. And I think that's actually one of the sort of backlash things that happened was we became extremely interested in the entertainment industry because we were deprived as children. We weren't really allowed to watch.
It's like if I always have candy out on my counters, seasonally or just all the time. And really as a family, we don't eat it. But if there's a kid that comes over that does not have that, it is out of control. It's like if the deprivation actually has a counter reaction.
Yeah, because I was so interested both in acting in high school that my college, I focused on television production. I was writing, I was directing, editing. Yep. That was and which must have been such a flip-a-do to think about for, our parents to be you were banned from watching TV during the day. You could maybe only watch TV at night. They were extremely concerned about what we were watching, except that Dad would let you watch anything on PBS, including Brideshead Revisited or what things totally inappropriate. Like what?
I know. And actually, when John was younger, you could go down there and they'd be watching something totally inappropriate. John would be sitting next to him.
Masterpiece theater.
Well, but that was also the evolution of Dad as he got older, and so the older kids
by the eighth child.
Yeah, the older kids had a different dad than the younger kids in a lot of ways.
I remember watching I, Claudius.
Oh my God, Claudius.
Brideshead Revisited. I mean, there was
nudity,
heavy topics in it.
Sure. Those are serious things. You may not have been picking up on all the topics. I sat next to Dad and watched Benny Hill.
Oh, okay, well,
the most racy jokes you could possibly have at 6. I'm like, those two old dudes look like boobs. I think that's the joke that they're making. I like this.
Oh my God. How funny.
So yes, in college, that was your major.
Yeah, that was my major. My focus was television production. And that was sort of the beginning of you and I working together. Like right after college.
Yes, because I was an actress. My major was theater.
And we started writing projects together and really trying to, focus on that. And as Liz loves to remind me, we had a hard time because we're very different personalities. And at that point, we were not very good at negotiating, like, what's your strong suit and what's my strong suit, and be okay with the other person not meeting you at the same level. Just, actually being a good partner doesn't mean doing the same thing. Which, has changed a lot over the years. But
because I'm much more social, you're very willing to like hunker down and like do the work. I always say like I'm like a more producer. I want to come with a big idea and then go out and try and make it happen through my relationships. And Catherine's like, okay, structure.
We need a script.
And we need to get this done. It's like, oh man. So yes, the early years. Well, also because our brother William, who actually passed away when he was 23.
Oh, sorry.
No, 22.
Almost 23.
Yeah, he was 22, about to turn 23. That's a long story to go into, and we will at another time. But when he graduated from college, had always had played musical instruments, been part of bands, and had been in one or two plays. But another one that kind of came out of the blue, he graduated college, moved home and said, I want to, move back home.
Came out of the blue, maybe less obvious to anyone who doesn't know the story, because he had been in plays, and I remember going to his high school for like a Christmas play, and at some point, I'm like 6. I'm like 5. John hasn't been born yet. It's the year before that. So I'm like kindergarten age. I don't know what's going on. I'm getting shuffled off in directions. They put a full beard on me. They put a beard from the Christmas play on me.
Uh-huh.
And like sent me back out into the party. Like, look what we did. We turned him into one of the wise men. It's great.
Oh, fun.
But where that happened was a seminary in high school. That brother of ours that came out of left field being interested in acting went to high school and seminary in college, which is on path to becoming a priest.
Yeah, that's the
thing. So when he graduated college and then didn't continue the path of becoming a priest, that was the true, very left going into acting.
Right.
I mean, you did it, but we weren't thinking that was the career.
Yeah.
Right. And so when he came home, he went the really classic traditional route. Like, I'm going to be a waiter, live at home, and start going to auditions. And I think Dad actually hooked him up.
Classes.
Yeah. And really, exactly, taking classes in Hollywood. And Dad hooked him up with an agent.
Mm-hmm.
And so he was starting to do all that before he passed away, before he was 23 years old.
I cannot tell you what joy I find in the fact that he got headshots before he died, because
those are the greatest pictures.
Oh yeah,
of
just
him.
look at him and go like, that's what he looked like at that time. Absolutely. So I think actually the working, collaborating with family members as adults started with you and William.
Yeah. So because I was, had been very outspoken and interested in.
Very directory.
I know.
Bossy.
I know. Okay. Well, yeah. So, but he and I started really, just forming that initial idea of, well, we should come up with projects for ourselves and we should do things for ourselves and like circumvent the whole process of having to like get someone to like put you in something. Let's make something.
Because you could buy video cameras and you could make, and content, but it was the early stages of it.
Right. Because I was I a senior in college?
Yeah, I think so.
God,
I think I
was a junior. I think I was a junior.
I think there was a big reset, and I never caught on. That's why John and I were part of your
So my senior thesis project was like, you direct something. And like, people did documentaries and people did whatever. No, I wrote and directed a sitcom. Like I made a pilot and I put my brothers and my friends' brothers in it and I put Liz in it and I put our grandmother in it. It was called Sibling Sabotage.
No, that was the name of the episode.
That was the name of the
series was The Gene Pool.
Oh my God,
Because
you're
the
What?
father's
That's
name was
genius.
Gene.
Oh my God, that is so good.
Which, of course, he's only in the open and the ending in the photographs. Our actual father.
Yeah.
And like a family
because I did a
photos.
title sequence. You're absolutely right. I did a title sequence where we took a bunch of pictures with this faked up family. So our real mom, our real dad, Liz, the two youngest boys in the family, Ed and John, and then my friend Susan's brothers were in it. And we took this funny little sequence of trying to do a family photo, and it's a disaster with this funny music. And it's
Right.
called The Gene Pool. And this episode, the pilot, is called Sibling Sabotage. You're absolutely right, Ed. But anyway, so
We shot that in our family home.
yeah.
You took over the entire house.
Oh, yeah.
For a long weekend with your whole Loyola Marymount crew.
Which I gotta say, I'm still mildly impressed at this point that in 2 days, a bunch of unprofessional kids, I think I had maybe
So good.
2 or 3 people from school come and help me. And that was it. I mean, and we had one ginormous camera that came in this giant suitcase. It was 3/4-inch videotape camera. It was crazy. And then I edited
wasn't
this
like it was
thing
an
myself.
M2.
Anyway, whatever.
And I was kind of a diva. You demanded a lot of me. There's physical comedy. It was exhausting.
Oh, so funny.
Physical comedy and
Multiple
and
locations.
stunt work.
And
Oh,
stuff.
yeah. And then the boys, I put them up on the hill and had them running down. It was craziness.
He had us quoting Shakespeare, some of which I still remember.
Oh, and you had braces and
No. I didn't just have braces. I had a spreader in my mouth.
Oh, God.
That had a spring-loaded bar
So the
across
amount of
the entire
spit.
roof of my mouth. So I couldn't pronounce half of this Shakespeare shit, or it was just launching spew into the
Oh,
camera.
God. And
field.
you know what? It turned out so good.
It's still
But
amazing.
anyway. But that was the beginning of really, without realizing it, knowing that this is really a family business. This is,
Right.
this is not all of the Killmonds, but that 4 people in one family have an interest in one business and can work together is amazing and crazy. I was just going to say, so after that, Liz and I tried to do more stuff together. And then eventually we ended up,
Yeah, well, we actually shot a pilot as well.
yeah,
Which I did some graphic design for and helped on the set.
yeah.
I totally helped for one day
Oh,
as a
John.
PA.
Family business.
Yeah, but that was the early days, and we wrote a pilot script because it was kind of it was of the time you could do that and then drop it off to a bunch of people to hopefully get traction.
Get some interest.
Oh
Yeah,
my
it was
God.
it was a
Wait, what?
it didn't really work, obviously.
What was it called?
Cover to cover.
Cover to cover about 2 girls in the publishing.
Yeah, they were
business.
Daily books.
they were they were sort of
The Daily Girls, DALEY.
sort of a mismatched sibling set.
How? Wow, where did we get that idea?
I don't know how terrible of you to even
My
bring
girlfriend
that up.
Heather was in it. My girlfriend Heather was in it. My friend Max. We used multiple locations. I mean, we produced the hell out of that. We got so many favors. We pulled so much out of that. It was crazy. And I remember dropping it off to multiple studios, working my way on the lot and dropping
Which,
it.
of course, they were like, "What is this, you weirdos? Why do we want this? Whatever."
This open is great. Look at this animation. Let's hire him, but not the show.
Well, I don't know, but then I think what happened is then it becomes you got pregnant, and it's
Yeah,
sort of
well,
you
I was-
shift focus.
I worked as an editor for a long time. That was my main. So I transitioned into being an editor because it's ooh, can I have a full-time job with benefits and get married and have a couple kids? Okay, then that's what I'm doing for a little bit. Little side path there for a bit. And really you were doing your own thing. You were doing
Then
the
it became
theater.
then it became a big break because I still pursued acting. Attended the Groundlings for a little while, or studied with the Groundlings for a little while. Then had my own acting troupe called Ronin in Hollywood to produce plays. Then somehow segued practically into.
FYI, I did some graphic design for those plays as well.
Yep, exactly. I'm sure my husband was always the bartender at every event. Always anybody I could rope in to help with anything, and so always continued doing acting, plays, whatever I could to perform and entertain. Loved it, but through that somehow ended up sort of becoming not personal assistant, but like working with talent, almost sort of managing them. And that, became a huge thing for almost 8+ years. And one of those people I worked with was the Kardashian Jenner family. Kendall and Kylie is who I looked over as a creative director for years. And there was an opportunity.
They were so little when you started.
They were kids.
They were like 11 and 12 or something.
Yeah, because when Chris asked me to do it, I was like, do what with them? Like, I don't even understand. But pretty quickly, stuff started they already had their TV show. Well, actually, I was even friends with her and was there for the pilot episode and help with all that. But when I came into a more full-time role, that was just Kendall and Kylie. So, they were getting opportunities being brought to them. And one of the opportunities was a book. And Kendall, Kylie, and myself came up with an idea for a book. It was about twin sisters, Lex and Livia. It was sci-fi, young adult, so on and so forth. Now, we brought in a co-author to help us write the book, but it was our idea, and then that's a long process. So myself and the co-author, Kendall and Kylie, put that whole book project together. And it was awesome, and I was very proud of it, and we got the opportunity to do a second book. And one of the things that came up was we really need a co-author here on the West Coast, because that's where we were, based.
Yeah, because the author for the first book was on the East Coast at the time.
Yeah, so it just made it more difficult to work.
Hard to really collaborate easily with someone who's not.
I had a lot of really late nights because of it.
This is pre-Zoom era.
Yeah, pre-Zoom,
for sure.
all that. Just a lot of late nights.
And even Google Docs, which is a lot, really handy because it's live sharing.
Oh, it's awesome.
Of it.
Yeah. As a writer, we recommend Google Docs to work in a group. Yeah. So none of that existed. So it was much more difficult, like a lot of printing paper. So the second book comes up as an opportunity. It really became, we need someone on the West Coast, and I need somebody that I can work with. And it's just going to be, kind of a heavy lift. And I really wanted to spearhead the writing on it. So we had not worked together in years. And I just remember walking out of the parking lot, like, who am I going to get? The audition process is going to be so arduous, or just the interview process.
Submission process or
whatever.
Submission
process. Be, yeah. I mean, this was with Reagan Arts. The first book was Simon Schuster. They will usually help with writers, but still, it's like not someone you know.
So or vice versa. Was it Simon & Schuster and then Reagan Arts? Or?
Reagan Arts was second. You're right.
Yeah,
so Simon Schuster was the first book under Hunter Books, I think. Karen Hunter was like the sub-publisher. But then Reagan Arts was the second book. And they would have recommended people, but it would have been strangers. So then you're also taking the time just to like get to know somebody, get to know their workflow, personalities, make them understand Kendall and Kylie, just like, yeah. So I'm walking out in the parking lot, and it was like something hit me over the head. And it was like, how about Katherine? And I was like...
It was me. I hit you over the head.
Yeah. But, I mean, you were always very much the disciplined writer in our previous, relationship. Mm-hmm. But it's not like you had written a book. So I'm like, great idea. How am I going to make this happen? So
you had a frank moment of realization where our passed away father smacked you in the face and said, your sister. Right away.
Go talk to your sister.
Kind of, possibly.
But I think what you did was really smart. You made sure that it would be approved before you even talked to me about it.
Well, no.
I thought you did.
No. I kind of, because I needed to see if you were even interested.
Oh, okay.
So
I thought you kind of sold them on it before you even.
No, I called you up and you were like, well, let me talk to my husband just to, because, how much time is it going to take? And I'm like, it'll be like the next year plus of our lives, like all our free time. So you came back and said, yes. I go, all right, let me see if they'll go for it.
Do it, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I can be very persuasive when I want to be.
You're amazing.
So I pitched it to the publishing company, like, well, what has she written? And it was true. We've written a lot of pilots and projects together. And I said, why don't we write a proposal? Why don't we kind of write an outline? Why don't we present you what we think can be the second book? And that's what we did, and they accepted it. And then it was like, oh, God, they accepted it. So now we've got to write a book. So at that point, John, that's when you came in to help, right?
Yeah, John got wrangled in. Because the super ironic thing about all of this is that I am very dyslexic. So it's very hard for me to read anything when I write things. Like I hear it in my head, and then I'll write it, but it has to be like triple checked. that it actually says what. So sometimes I need somebody to read it back to me to make sure but I always feel like reading, being dyslexic and writing, it's not actually a problem. You need to be a good storyteller, right? So what you're really tapping into is that you're a good storyteller, or you're very savvy about how things are structured. TV and movies, and what it is that you're writing is separate from the problem of, oh, you're a terrible speller. Okay, well that's fine, but you just have to double and triple check things to clean them up and whatever. But it's
So John, what were you doing at that point? How did I rope you in?
I was taking a break from work.
In post-production?
Yeah, I've been working in post, and then I...
On, like, reality shows, right?
Yep. And then I had taken, it'd been a couple months at that point. And then you guys came up with this idea, and I was like, maybe, I guess.
Oh my God. Perfect. We roped you in
like
to our conspiracy.
You were for substantially longer time, but the post-production your post-production job you're talking about, you and I were working at together for like 3 years.
Yeah, we had just been working together at that place.
And living at the same place for those 3 years.
Roommates.
Double down.
Yeah, so we were all sort of circling each other.
Yeah, kind of doing our own independent things in the entertainment industry.
Right.
Yeah.
And so brought Katherine in, we get approved, and it's like we are looking at the page count or the word count that's going to be due at a certain date. And so you kind of begin to figure out what has to be done in an amount of time. And it's like, holy moly. So yeah, brought John in, and we didn't have offices at that point. So it was like, well, we'll work out of the office at my house.
Yeah.
Which for the next year was pretty much like
a card table. No, did you have a card table, John?
Yeah, our mother contributed a card table and a TV tray.
Oh, I used the TV tray. That was my spot.
It would be after normal work hours, even though this was being co-authored by Kendall and Kylie, because during the day I would check in with them, tell them what we had written, get feedback, so on and so forth. They weren't in the writing room at night, and you worked during the day. And John, I think you even had other stuff going on. So it was more gathering at like 7 o'clock at night, working till like 10 o'clock and having to call it because the next day we had kids, we had other obligations. It was like, oh my gosh. I mean, I would then go tell Kendall and Kylie, all right, this is what we did. So are we,
well, and it was all on a Google Doc. That's how we did it. So you could always read it or,
it was a living document. And that was about a year, right?
I think the first draft was like
7 months,
maybe a little bit shorter, like 4 or 5 months of like getting to the final, like the word count is where it should be.
Which
like
I
the whole story was at.
Didn't we misunderstand the word count? Our book was too long.
Well, they did want to cut it down substantially later.
Right.
Yeah, I think they did. They said,
I need you to hit this word count so we can edit it.
Well, it was partly they had like a minimum, but really that actually to them was the maximum. It was like, oh, we did not understand that. We were like, we have to get to that and above. It's like, oh no, we would have been happy with around that number exactly. It's like, oh, well, there's 20,000 or 30,000 more words than that. Whoopsie. But now the story is structured in a way that's how it works best. So and
it was great. I mean, and actually I was nervous because Katherine and I used to butt heads in the previous creative team partnership. And I was like, I just trusted like this is going to work. And it worked so well together.
Yeah, it was really good.
And
yeah.
John would be sitting there keeping us on track. And if he didn't understand things or rereading what Katherine was doing or and that was also the first time we really saw each other as producers because you're producing a whole project. So but then you start talking about, other ideas you have or other things you might want to work on. But it's almost...
Or deciding you don't want to go that direction for these characters, this story, but you love that idea, just not for this project.
Right. So going back to our father who had multiple jobs, one of his jobs was, or not jobs, but he owned a Catholic bookstore and gift shop in the San Fernando Valley for over 25 years. Now, he had a lot of ladies that worked for him there. And after he passed away, because I was like the actor and had flexible hours, and that's what my dad did. Wouldn't it work great for me to become the manager of it? What? the hell was I thinking? But I stepped in for a few years and did that. And then we ended up closing the family business. I mean, pre-Amazon, which was probably for the best because you can get any of that from Amazon now.
Have to go, yeah.
Although maybe we just missed the boat and we could have made a website called Amazing.
Oh, jeez. So I would still have nightmares about that the store was open or that Dad was alive and was pissed what I did, and or just those were my stress dreams. And when initially John, Katherine, and myself did the book together, and it was a really positive experience, even though it didn't become a bestseller, it should have. I can't remember all the reasons why, but things happen in life.
It's also a little bit hard for a second book to do incredibly well, after
but very well
yeah.
reviewed, very proud of it.
It usually doesn't do better than the first book,
right?
Even though, in my opinion, it was a superior book. But whatever.
But we loved it, and we were published authors because of it. So great. That became the genesis for us all to work together, including bringing in Eddie because he was the other family member in the industry and very creative and funny.
Didn't you have like a dream or a
moment?
moment?
Wasn't going to. So I still have these nightmares occasionally, and it's like, oh man, So we were just
really let Dad down. Didn't you feel
like? Yeah, because it would just be like, he was back and he hated the store, or I closed it. We got to reopen it, and I'm like, I don't want to reopen it. Oh my god. And John and I, you kind of went back to your editing normal routine life.
Yeah.
For a window there, and John and I then have continued to work together. I mean, we're business partners for.
I mean, it actually, because when you first brought me in, it was already like, and probably some other stuff.
And I need your help.
Yeah.
So then it kind of continued and just more and more.
Yeah. So we've been working together for almost, it's not 10 years, is it?
No, it's like 5 or 6.
It feels longer.
Well, if I look at my count, it's like 330. We're about to hit 330 weeks.
What? Why do you keep it like that? That's so weird.
If you don't have the data, you have nothing.
Oh my God, you're so
there you go. So
if you don't have the data, then you can't reference the data.
So I missed having. I'm sure my husband and my son didn't, but even though Mark loves to feed people, it became a little like, oh my gosh, what am I feeding the group tonight? I have to make tuna every single weekend for this group. I missed it because I'm social and I like being with my family. And I was like, how do I make this work?
And I think just in the background too, there always has been the bubbling of so many other ideas and projects, and not necessarily books, because that was an arduous, specific thing.
It's really interesting because it's like the opportunity to write a book that didn't have a premise or a story that you got to inject the ideas into and create the world that came from might have been the first time you had that shown to you. All the plays and other things that you've done, you didn't write those.
Right.
So actually getting a project all the way through that was like,
well,
that's a new, I want to keep doing that.
There was
Sibling Sabotage with Katherine, cover to cover.
Was the two of us, yeah.
And I feel like there's even one that we're forgetting. But, there were a few which gave me the taste, which made me also feel like we could do it. So this is all bubbling. And I basically, one night, having a dream, and it's like, oh God, here's the store dream again, like stress. But bizarrely, it was like, great. And it didn't look like the family St. Augustine store anymore. It had changed. You guys were all there. There was like peace and love, and it was like we're working together, and it's all running smoothly, like very clockwork. Like we're still in a store environment, which was a little weird, but it's all really running smoothly. And Dad showed up and he loved it. And he looked at me and said, this is the family business. And I woke up and I'm like, oh my God, that's been the issue. It's like, I've always been sort of like hosting the family events and all those type of things, like lean into what is naturally here and create the family business with family members.
Yeah.
And I've never had the nightmare of the old one since.
Oh, the store nightmare.
No. Mm-hmm. And now we've all been working together for a few years doing various projects. But so that's how, and then Ned came in and it really became the four of us.
Yeah. Well,
I do remember the first, month or so, we're like, okay, and we're gonna try to do more stuff. And then do we have to come up with a name? Do we have to like get an LLC? Do we have to do all the real businessy stuff? And we're like, the goal is to be the legit real company that we had been working for. We want to be in that position now.
Yeah.
So we got to do all the real stuff. And then we had to come up with our company name. And I think I pitched it. I pitched what we ended up on.
Well, I know Katherine had bailed at that point that night because it was just, it was long, arduous. And so you had left. And then I think we were just going through like, what's an M word? What's an L word? What's an N? And I think I had to call and then tell you, like, we've basically decided on Knack. Like,
which is great and fine.
Once we went through all the clever, creative, doing stuff.
But things were taken.
And it's all in existence or some other company. We're like, no, it doesn't really fit us. And then it was just like, we have a knack for this. That's it. Knack. We have a knack to do this kind of thing that speaks to what all of us bring to the table, that we each have a weird specialty skill that we're real good at. We really like doing. That's kind of like what a knack is. It is literally how we.
And then you immediately go to GoDaddy. Oh, it's not taken. Oh, we can get a
quick
Instagram
down.
Instagram account, because that was the other thing. If we came up with other names, which I won't even bother to say them now, half the time they were taken. So it was like, well,
sometimes by some weird other thing.
It didn't matter.
Oh, it's a printing company and wherever. It's a restaurant or like what? No. Oh, it's a balloon company. What?
One of the things I always wanted to do was outside of sitting in a room and writing and creating ideas, scripts, and all the things we do basically on a daily basis, was I wanted to do a podcast about our family. Yeah. And I always said that there is a very interesting dynamic here, that we are a large family. We all live relatively still close to each other. There is no huge black sheep. There's no family member that no one talks to, but we're all very different. So I just always thought wow, there's a really interesting dynamic here. Why not make that with a K for Killmonds? And that was 2 years ago that I came up with that idea. Of course, then we get sidetracked by all these other projects. So I'm so happy now. Family DynamiKs will be us, occasionally the four of us, but we will be producing this podcast with family members.
Yeah, definitely. We'll have our mom multiple times.
Which I'm so excited about, because it's a way of almost getting her oral history.
Oh, yeah. I mean, just documenting her life, and then also it's so interesting to hear her talk about her relationship with each kid and, sort of why that is the way it is. And
she's always been kind of an independent woman, even for having 8 children. So there's aspects of her life that I don't know that much about. I'm excited about it. And then there's 4 sisters.
Just interjecting really quick. John and I are living with our mother, and she's, not a young spring chicken anymore. We're middle-aged, so she ain't in her middle ages anymore. It is at least on a weekly basis that John and I have similarly experienced, what is that story? I've never heard that in my entire life.
Yeah. Well, now we're going to get them now. And then we'll also have combinations of the 4 sisters, nieces, nephews, in-laws.
Yeah, we'll try and bring spouses in. I mean, I don't know. My husband,
this was interesting about your husband. Yeah, but we've all seen Eric in action, producer Eric. He can turn that on, right, John?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
So, maybe with a microphone and, being
maybe. And then children, well, there's.
Oh, my son cannot wait. Slow your roll. But actually, one of the ideas for this podcast, where this really came from, was I was at Rosemary, our younger sister's house, and her son Luke, up in his room, had
He
sort
was
of
probably 15, 16 at the time, maybe?
Yeah, had sort of a mic setup. And I think
probably for gaming. He's a big gamer.
Yeah, for gaming. But I rolled in there to because Ethan was going to spend the night, and he was going to spend the night in his room. So I was setting them up and talking to them. And I sat down in that chair and the microphone, and Luke and I started to shoot the shit. And I said, oh my gosh, we should have a show, the Liz and Luke show. And of course he was like, love it. Let's do it. And it really, I was like, actually,
we should do that.
Because teenage boys are really an anomaly. So he will have Luke here because.
Yeah. I mean, there will be multiple combinations and different topics, and we'll get everybody's different point of view, and it'll be really interesting. It is so amazing and strange to have such a big family. Both the primary family and then the extended family is so big. It's amazing that.
Yeah, so we hope you all listen and love it. And, because like we said, everybody's got a family dynamic, whether it's good, bad, funny, joyful, sad. I mean, we'll talk about tons of different topics that will bring that all up, and our different points of view and our memories are all sometimes like Ed, when you're like, I came up with the name Knack. I'm like, I thought I did. Oh. So how you remember things is different.
I have it on documents.
No, I don't. I trust you.
I believe that you trust me, and it is the weirdness of having somebody else who's got your back in your story, or can at least correct your story. I don't have to remember it perfect. I can kind of like half-ass these details if I'm telling it in the group, or no one will know that it's not accurate.
Well, exactly. I will say that even though I don't have a good memory, any story that Liz tells about me that is unflattering, that is not true. I don't believe it.
It is usually
it's not
true.
True.
And I don't even bother to embellish it.
Yeah, if it didn't happen last week, or it's not a movie from the 90s, early 90s, Katherine doesn't remember.
What? No, it's fine. I totally remember.
Or actually any television show ever, because she'll remember that.
I do remember.
And because of that, because we love TV, we actually have another podcast. It's really just the four of us. It's called What We Are Watching, and we basically talk about TV, movies,
all the streaming services.
Basically anything we're watching, because we either love it or like it. Sometimes it's hate watching, but for the most part, we're going to talk about things we love to watch.
Well, the main thing is, particularly me, anything I watch, I want to immediately talk about it. I want to either talk to someone who's seen it or convince someone to see it, so then I can talk to them about it. So, I'm a big...
And we all have very different tastes. So
yeah, I'm a big consumer of
media.
That's actually a really interesting point. And I know we're probably wrapping this episode up real quick, but all of our different tastes have a really good overlap. Some of the things that... There's another podcast that we're going to be doing that's going to be dropping the same time as this one called Huge Fans. And that literally is the crossover of all four of us absolutely loving the entertainment industry in a specific person, film, whatever the category is. We all have a big crossover. Even if we don't all watch the same stuff, we watch a lot of the same stuff.
Well, and also, even when we don't watch the same stuff, I still want to hear about it. I want to know about everything that's out there. So even if it's not my exact cup of tea, I still want to know about it. And I think it's very helpful when like somebody brings something in to talk about that's like, oh, I'm not watching that, but tell me all about it. I mean, not spoilery, but like I want to know.
You do not care about spoilers. You will spoil anything.
Okay, well, I'm just saying.
We'll be careful spoiler alerts.
Part of the reason why you really like to wait for someone else to have watched it so you can talk about it. So
That's
there
true.
isn't a fear of spoiler, and I have to be careful about how I'm dancing around this. Oh, I don't want to tell you that.
No, she'll spoil it.
I will not. All right, well.
You just know that I hate... I barely want to know anything.
Oh, yeah. You don't want to watch trailers. You don't want to know.
Oh,
even
that
the
is
premise
annoying
of
that you
something.
basically
What
watch
we're
a trailer.
saying is if you listen to our podcasts about entertainment business stuff, make sure you've watched it before you listen to it.
Because I think it will be both.
I don't mind spoiler alerts.
No,
actually,
and I think...
But I will warn somebody if I'm about to do one.
That's smart. I think there are a combination of both sharing something that you like, for people who have watched it so they can participate and be like, yeah, oh my God, I love that aspect of it too. Or I loved it because of that as well, whatever. But also really trying to get other people to watch stuff that might be a little bit, more buried or off the beaten track so that you can, have comrades who are watching stuff. Anyway.
All right, so we got a lot coming up from Knack Entertainment. We'll have Family DynamiKs with the K, with the Killmonds. We will have What We Are Watching and Huge Fans. So,
yeah, just like, subscribe, listen to everything. We'll be making lots and lots of episodes. Thanks for listening.